Okay, we're on to the install now. One thing I should mention in between here is an awfully good time to change out a couple of parts, maintenance parts. The rear spark plugs are really terribly accessible right now, as well as the thermostat. And I took the opportunity to do that, but I'm not going to add to the video by showing that. In this step, we're going to install the replacement gaskets and the push rods. Then we're going to put the lower manifold back in and carefully, meticulously torque it down. And after that, put the valve covers back on, and that'll be part 5. Thanks for watching. So just take your time and do the best possible job you can cleaning these mating surfaces. Get off the old RTV that was in this juncture, this flat spot between the banks, and just clean, clean, clean. Overdo it. Get it as close to perfect as you can. And just wipe down all the surfaces with some solvent. I have lacquer thinner on this rag, so I'm just going over it all. And of course the surface of the manifold as well. As a final cleanup, I like to vacuum out the compartment. I just got a little nylon hose hooked up on a shop vac. Here's what we're using. Velcro kit MS98003T. Okay, now as you put the new gaskets in, there are 3 guide holes here and on both ends. And it's really, placement of the gasket is pretty much foolproof. So it's time for the push rods. So we go back to our box, left and right. Okay, the torque on these is 168 inch-pounds plus 30 degrees. Okay, we're just going to repeat this on all the others. I'm not going to show all this. It's going to get a little redundant. We've got 168 inch-pounds plus 30 degrees. There. Okay, the back bank is done. Now we're moving on to the front. Note Felpro's instructions on here. Use no sealer. As to applying these gasket sheets here. Okay, all push rods in and torqued to the proper torque on the front side, front bank. So I like to put the manifold, or whatever I'm going to do, on a piece of clean poster board here. And give it a final going over before installation. Get everything ready. I'm going over this again with a little lacquer thinner. I'm going to hit it one more time with my modified shop vac. And get the bolts ready. We're going to be putting some Permatex product on the last 5 threads of the bolts. And this is also a removable one, removable with hand tools. And there's our RTV. We've got that ready to put in the valley. So we'll finish cleaning this up one final time, both sides. The nice thing about this is, if anything is contaminated on the whiteboard, you can see it and get it out of there right away, because you don't want anything getting in between the gasket and the manifold. Okay, there we have a little dab of silica sealant, thread sealant. It's also a thread locker. Okay, don't forget to clean this the mating surfaces on the rear valve cover. For the rear valve cover, do it before you put the manifold, the lower manifold back on, because you can get to it now, a lot easier. And I'm going to go over this with some lacquer thinner too. Likewise in the front. Although the front isn't as important to do early, I would still, maybe knock it off. May as well knock it off now. Okay, now we're going to lay down a little bead of silicone, RTV here, 1/4 inch wide in the valleys. And likewise over here on the other side. Okay, I've got our manifold all cleaned up and ready to install. Okay, we have our bolts ready now. I'm going to do the upper ones first. And turn them, and we're going to just get them in loosely here to start with. Get all 6 of them caught. For the enjoyable corner one. Now we'll go over to the other corner. Over here, it's going to be pretty much impossible to actually show.
Let me, yeah.
Right there. I'm just getting the threads started for now. We're going to turn these in gradually. Okay. So now we're going to just turn these all down to where they're basically making contact before we go into any kind of torquing operation. You want to be careful to turn these in by hand. We don't want to get them going cross here. For our problem child here. Still not even sitting in there yet. Okay, so turn it by hand. Go crisscross, inside, outside. Okay, I'll move over to this one. Let's get some light on the subject here. To start with, I turned them in just by hand, as far as I could. Okay, now we're coming back over here. Now this is the one that actually is the biggest problem, and I use some special tools here. Now this is where I've modified a wrench, 10 millimeter. Cut it off to about 3 3/4 inches. And with it like that now, I can turn this a ways. I can get more of a rotational angle on it, because I turn this in as far as I can by hand. And cutting this off a little bit shorter gives us more than just a couple of degrees. Of rotation. So it's not going to take us all day to get this in. Okay, so we're just finishing up on this one. Okay, so now we're going to take them all, crisscrossing them to 60-inch pounds. Okay, and my torque wrench doesn't go down to 5 foot-pounds. 10 is the lowest, so that's the final torque on most of the bolts here, except for the 4 outside ones. So I'm kind of just easing them. Yeah, that one hit it. That one hit it. That one hit it. I don't think I got this one yet. There it is. Now we can get at these 2 corner ones with our regular torque wrench. Now these actually, though, end up at 18 foot-pounds. So we're just going to take them for now to the 12, or to the 10. Okay. And we'll repeat that on this one over here. Same equipment, just like this. Okay, so these 4 outside ones now go to 18 foot-pounds or 216 inch-pounds. I've got my inch-pound wrench set. There it is. And now for the under roof ones. To get to the 18 foot-pounds is really just a couple more degrees is all it is. And we're there. Okay, the valve covers are next. The Q-tip works pretty good in this little recessed slot where the gasket's going to go. And we'll go over both of them with Q-tips and then finish up with some lacquer thinner. Get these good and clean. Now it's time to seat the gaskets. It's got everything cleaned up nicely. And they fit into those little valleys, those little slots. There's also a little detail here on the corner. You know, make sure that there's a little cutout for this little triangular portion. Now make sure that's in its slot. You can kind of see it on that one. Okay, there's really no way for me to show you any detail on this back bank. You just have to get it in place and kind of guide it with those little triangular cutouts. It's kind of a good... There. And it slips into that. Into those, they're all in. I'm just going to turn these in as far as I can by hand. And I can turn them in most of the way by hand. Okay, now for the front. Now we have some clutter to get past on the front here. Turn them in by hand first. And the 2 lower ones, we have to get a wrench in there and get a socket, a little extension in there to get those 2 started. These upper ones work good with a thumb wheel. And one of the lower ones too, but the other one you can't quite reach. Okay, got this with the thumb wheel. This one that's hidden underneath here. So it's an inch-pound operation, 7 inch-pounds. Okay, that concludes part 5. In part 6, we're going to start putting components back on top of the lower manifold. We'll put the coolant crossover pipe back on and the fuel rail. We've got the standoffs for the coil pack, electrical connectors. Now we're going to mount the alternator bracket and the alternator. Hope to see you there. Thanks for watching.